Nurse Amanda Walsh quietly entered the Platinum VIP suite at Manhattan Presbyterian Hospital, carrying medication for her most difficult patient. Tech mogul Daniel Crawford had been complaining about everything since his arrival, treating the medical staff like personal servants. Finally, someone shows up, Daniel sneered from his luxury hospital bed, not bothering to look up from his tablet. I've been waiting 20 minutes for my medication. In the real world, that kind of delay gets people fired. Amanda maintained her professional composure as she approached with his prescribed treatment. Actually, Mr. Crawford, your medication wasn't due for another hour, but I came early to check on you. Daniel's eyes flashed with irritation. Don't tell me when I need my medication. I didn't become a billionaire by accepting mediocrity from people who couldn't cut it in competitive fields. What Daniel didn't know was that Amanda Walsh held a medical degree from Johns Hopkins, had completed her residency in emergency medicine, and was working as a nurse by choice while conducting groundbreaking research. More importantly, the hospital's security cameras were recording every word of his arrogant challenge that was about to go viral and destroy his reputation. If this story resonates with you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from today. The Platinum VIP suite at Manhattan Presbyterian Hospital represented the absolute pinnacle of luxury medical care, occupying an entire floor of the prestigious medical center, with amenities that surpassed most five-star hotels worldwide. The 4,000-square-foot space featured Italian marble floors, imported from Carrara quarries, crystal chandeliers handcrafted by master artisans in Vienna, panoramic floor-to-ceiling windows offering breathtaking views of Central Park and the Manhattan skyline, private chef facilities staffed by culinary professionals trained at Le Cordon Bleu, conference rooms equipped with military-grade secure communication systems, and accommodations that catered exclusively to heads of state, entertainment royalty, and business moguls who demanded absolute privacy and control over their medical experience. Daniel Crawford had reserved the exclusive suite for what he claimed was routine cardiac monitoring following chest pains during a high-stress board meeting, though hospital staff suspected his extended stay was motivated more by the luxury accommodations and business convenience than serious medical concerns. At 39 years old, Daniel controlled a technology empire worth $42 billion, with companies spanning social media platforms, artificial intelligence development, quantum computing research, and biotechnology ventures that employed over 400,000 people across 7 continents. The suite itself had been designed by the same architectural firm, responsible for creating luxury residences for European nobility, Silicon Valley tech titans, and Middle Eastern oil magnates who demanded perfection in every detail of their living environments. Every surface, fixture, and amenity had been selected to communicate unlimited wealth, technological sophistication, and absolute authority over the digital age that Daniel believed he was helping to create and control. The main living area featured Persian rugs worth more than most people's lifetime earnings, furniture handcrafted by master artisans in Italy and Switzerland, original artwork including pieces from Banksy's private collection, sculptures by contemporary masters worth millions of dollars each, and technology systems that provided secure access to global financial markets, classified government databases, and private communication networks used exclusively by the world's most powerful tech leaders and venture capitalists. Daniel's daily routine in the hospital suite resembled the command center of a multinational technology corporation more than a medical facility designed for patient care and recovery. His entourage included 8 personal assistants who managed different aspects of his global business empire, 12 security professionals who monitored digital threats and physical safety, 4 legal advisors who provided real-time consultation on complex international regulations and intellectual property disputes, 3 personal physicians recruited from exclusive private practices, and a communications director who managed his public image across multiple social media platforms and traditional media outlets. The technology infrastructure rivaled that of government agencies, with quantum-encrypted communication systems that prevented corporate espionage, artificial intelligence platforms that analyzed market trends and competitive intelligence in real time, satellite links to his corporate headquarters in San Francisco, Seattle, London, Tokyo, Singapore, and Tel Aviv, and computational resources that could process more data per second than most university research centers possessed, or could afford to maintain. But beneath the veneer of technological innovation and luxury accommodation, Daniel had created an environment where he systematically dismissed, belittled, or challenged anyone he perceived as intellectually inferior or professionally irrelevant to his business objectives and personal vision for technological transformation of human society. His treatment of hospital staff, medical professionals, and support workers reflected a worldview that divided humanity into categories of technological relevance and intellectual capability, with most people classified as obsolete remnants of pre-digital civilization who lacked the intelligence, education, or vision necessary to contribute meaningfully to the technological future he was creating through his various business ventures and research investments. Amanda Walsh represented everything that challenged Daniel's assumptions about professional hierarchy, intellectual capability, and the relationship between job titles and actual qualifications. Though Daniel had never bothered to learn anything about the nurse who had been assigned to his care, following complaints about previous medical staff members who apparently lacked the subservience and accommodation that he expected from service providers. At 34 years old, Amanda possessed educational credentials and professional experience that would have impressed even someone as arrogant and demanding as Daniel Crawford, though her current position as a registered nurse at Manhattan Presbyterian Hospital concealed a background that included some of the most prestigious medical training institutions in the United States and groundbreaking research that was advancing emergency medicine and trauma care protocols. Amanda's educational journey had begun with undergraduate studies at Stanford University, where she had graduated summa cum laude with degrees in biomedical engineering and neuroscience, while conducting research that contributed to breakthrough developments in brain-computer interfaces and neural prosthetics that were revolutionizing treatment for patients with spinal cord injuries and neurodegenerative diseases. Her academic excellence and research capabilities had earned her acceptance to Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, one of the most competitive and prestigious medical programs in the world, where she had completed her medical degree with honors while specializing in emergency medicine and trauma surgery that prepared her for the most challenging and critical medical situations. The Johns Hopkins experience had included rotations at some of the country's most demanding medical centers, including Level 1 trauma centers in Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C., where Amanda had gained experience treating gunshot wounds, multi-vehicle accident victims, and medical emergencies that required split-second decision-making and flawless technical execution under extreme pressure. Her residency training in emergency medicine had been completed at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, one of the most prestigious and competitive emergency medicine programs in the United States, where she had worked alongside world-renowned physicians while treating the full spectrum of medical emergencies from heart attacks and strokes to complex trauma cases and toxicological emergencies. During her residency, Amanda had demonstrated exceptional clinical judgment, technical skills, and leadership capabilities that earned recognition from attending physicians and peers who considered her among the most talented emergency medicine physicians they had encountered during their careers in academic medicine and clinical practice. But Amanda's decision to work as a registered nurse, rather than practicing as a physician, reflected personal values and research interests that prioritized direct patient care and clinical innovation over the administrative responsibilities and lifestyle demands that characterized modern emergency medicine practice in prestigious academic medical centers. Her choice to work as a nurse while maintaining her medical degree represented a deliberate strategy for conducting research about patient care delivery, nursing education, and the integration of advanced medical knowledge into bedside nursing practice that could improve outcomes for patients throughout the healthcare system. Amanda's research interests focused on developing protocols that would allow nurses with advanced medical training to provide higher levels of care during emergencies, potentially saving lives in situations where physician availability was limited by staffing constraints, geographic isolation, or mass casualty incidents that overwhelmed traditional medical response capabilities. Her work at Manhattan Presbyterian Hospital provided access to diverse patient populations and medical situations while allowing her to observe healthcare delivery systems from the perspective of nursing staff who provided the majority of direct patient care but often lacked recognition for their clinical expertise and contributions to patient outcomes. The research that Amanda conducted during her nursing shifts involved developing and testing protocols for nurse-led emergency interventions, advanced assessment techniques that could identify critical conditions before they became life-threatening, and communication strategies that improved coordination between nursing staff and physicians during complex medical situations. Her dual qualification as both physician and nurse provided unique insights into healthcare delivery that informed research publications in prestigious medical journals and presentations at national conferences, where her work was recognized as innovative contributions to emergency medicine and nursing education. But Amanda's most significant research involved developing training programs that could prepare nurses to function as physician extenders during medical emergencies, potentially revolutionizing emergency care delivery in hospitals, rural clinics, and disaster response situations where traditional medical staffing models were inadequate for patient needs. The work required maintaining her nursing position to collect data about real-world healthcare delivery, while preserving her medical credentials through continuing education and occasional shifts in emergency departments where she could apply her physician training to the most critical medical situations. Daniel Crawford's admission to Manhattan Presbyterian Hospital had created challenges for nursing staff who found his demanding personality, unreasonable expectations, and dismissive attitude toward healthcare workers difficult to manage while maintaining professional standards and quality patient care. His complaints about previous nurses had included criticism of their intelligence, education, response time to his demands, and apparent lack of appreciation for his importance as a technology leader and philanthropist whose innovations had transformed modern life for billions of people worldwide. The nursing supervisor had assigned Amanda to Daniel's care based on her reputation for maintaining professional composure with difficult patients while providing excellent clinical care that met the highest medical standards regardless of patient behavior or demands for special accommodation. Dr. Patricia Chen, Manhattan Presbyterian's chief medical officer, had briefed Amanda about Daniel's personality and expectations while emphasizing the importance of providing professional nursing care without compromising medical standards or accepting inappropriate behavior that violated professional boundaries or hospital policies. Amanda, this patient has been challenging for our entire nursing staff, Dr. Chen had explained during their private discussion about Daniel's care requirements. He seems to view healthcare workers as technology support rather than medical professionals, and his demands often go beyond reasonable patient care into personal service that's inappropriate for hospital staff. Dr. Chen had also warned Amanda about Daniel's tendency to test hospital staff through arbitrary challenges and confrontational behavior that appeared designed to establish dominance over people he considered intellectually or socially inferior to technology entrepreneurs and innovation leaders. He's been particularly dismissive of nursing staff, apparently believing that nurses lack the education or intelligence necessary to understand complex medical situations or contribute meaningfully to patient care beyond basic tasks and comfort measures. Dr. Chen had continued while reviewing Daniel's medical records and care requirements. The warning had prepared Amanda for difficult interactions, while confirming her research hypothesis that wealthy patients often underestimated nursing capabilities and education based on stereotypes about healthcare hierarchy and professional qualifications that didn't reflect the reality of modern nursing education and clinical practice. Amanda understood that her interaction with Daniel would provide valuable research data about patient attitudes toward nursing staff, while testing her ability to maintain professional boundaries and clinical excellence despite challenging interpersonal dynamics and potential harassment from someone accustomed to controlling his environment through wealth and perceived intellectual superiority. When Amanda entered Daniel's VIP suite for her first shift, providing his nursing care, she was prepared for confrontational behavior while committed to documenting his attitudes and responses for her ongoing research about patient-provider relationships and the impact of socioeconomic status on healthcare interactions. The suite's luxury amenities and technology infrastructure immediately demonstrated the wealth disparity between Daniel's world and the everyday reality of most hospital patients who received excellent medical care without private chefs, personal assistance or accommodation that cost more per night than most people earned in months of full-time employment. Daniel was conducting a video conference with potential investors in his latest artificial intelligence venture, a project worth several $billion that promised to revolutionize machine learning and human-computer interaction while generating enormous returns for early investors and strategic partners. The business meeting involved participants from venture capital firms in Silicon Valley, sovereign wealth funds from Singapore and Saudi Arabia, and technology partners from South Korea and Israel who were evaluating opportunities to invest in Daniel's quantum computing research that could dominate emerging technology markets. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're developing represents the next evolution of artificial intelligence that will make current systems obsolete within 3 years, Daniel was explaining to his international audience while reviewing technical specifications and financial projections on multiple high-definition screens that displayed complex algorithms and market analysis. The presentation required Daniel's complete attention to technical details, competitive intelligence, and investment terms that could determine whether his companies maintained their leadership in emerging technologies or lost ground to competitors who were developing similar capabilities with support from other venture capital sources and government research funding. When Amanda quietly entered the suite carrying medication and monitoring equipment, Daniel barely acknowledged her presence, viewing the nurse as an interruption to important business discussions that would determine the future direction of his technology empire and financial position in rapidly evolving global markets. "Finally, someone shows up," Daniel said, without looking away from his screens or pausing his presentation to international investors who were listening to his interaction with hospital staff. "I've been waiting 20 minutes for my medication. In the real world, that kind of delay gets people fired for incompetence and unprofessionalism." The comment was designed to establish Amanda's subordinate status while demonstrating his business efficiency and high standards to investors who were evaluating his leadership capabilities and attention to detail that would affect their confidence in his ability to execute complex technology projects and generate expected returns. Amanda approached Daniel's bed with professional composure, recognizing that his criticism was based on incorrect assumptions about medication timing while providing her with immediate data about his attitude toward healthcare workers and his need to perform dominance for his business audience. "Actually, Mr. Crawford, your medication wasn't due for another hour, but I came early to check on your condition and ensure you're comfortable," Amanda replied calmly while preparing to administer his prescribed cardiac monitoring medication according to proper medical protocols and safety procedures. Her response was factual and professional, addressing Daniel's complaint while demonstrating her knowledge of his medication schedule and commitment to providing excellent patient care despite his inappropriate criticism and public attempt to humiliate her in front of his business associates. But Daniel interpreted Amanda's professional response as insubordination that needed to be countered with increased demonstration of his intellectual superiority and business authority, particularly in front of investors who were evaluating his leadership qualities and decision-making capabilities. "Don't tell me when I need my medication," Daniel replied with obvious irritation, while his international audience observed his treatment of hospital staff through their video conference connection. "I didn't become a billionaire by accepting mediocrity from people who couldn't cut it in competitive fields like technology and finance." The insult was explicit and designed to humiliate Amanda while establishing his perceived intellectual and professional superiority for business associates who were witnessing his attitude towards service workers and healthcare providers. What Daniel didn't realize was that his arrogant challenge to Amanda's competence and dismissive attitude toward nursing professionals was being recorded in high-definition video and crystal-clear audio by Manhattan Presbyterian Hospital's comprehensive security system that documented all patient interactions for quality assurance, legal protection, and staff safety purposes. The security recordings were monitored in real time by trained personnel who were responsible for identifying inappropriate patient behavior, potential harassment of staff members, and situations that might require immediate intervention to protect healthcare workers from verbal abuse, threats, or other inappropriate conduct. Marcus Thompson, the hospital's head of security, had been specifically instructed to monitor interactions between VIP patients and staff members following previous incidents involving wealthy patients who had attempted to use their financial influence to manipulate or mistreat healthcare workers who couldn't afford to resist or report inappropriate behavior. But what neither Marcus nor anyone else at Manhattan Presbyterian Hospital expected was that Daniel's arrogant challenge to Amanda's professional competence would soon trigger a response that would expose his ignorance about her qualifications while creating viral footage that would destroy his carefully constructed public image and business reputation. As Daniel continued his video conference with international investors, his treatment of Amanda escalated from dismissive comments to explicit challenges designed to demonstrate his intellectual superiority while using her as an example of the service industry incompetence that his artificial intelligence systems would eventually replace. As you can see, gentlemen, this is exactly why human-centered service delivery needs to be automated, Daniel told his business associates, while Amanda professionally administered his medication despite his continued harassment. These people lack the education and analytical capabilities necessary for complex problem-solving in technology-driven environments. His commentary was designed to transform Amanda's presence into a business demonstration for his artificial intelligence investments, using the nurse as an example of human inadequacy that justified replacing healthcare workers with automated systems that wouldn't require professional courtesy or recognition of their expertise and education. The international investors participating in the video conference represented some of the world's most powerful financial institutions and technology funds, creating an audience for Daniel's display of contempt toward healthcare workers and his vision for eliminating human employment in service industries through artificial intelligence automation. Daniel, that's precisely the kind of efficiency optimization that makes your AI platforms compelling for healthcare applications, commented Dr. James Park from the Seoul National University Technology Fund that managed over $200 billion in international research investments. Eliminating variable human factors from medical care delivery creates tremendous value propositions for institutional healthcare providers. The encouragement from his investors emboldened Daniel to escalate his commentary about Amanda and healthcare workers in general, creating increasingly explicit statements about his plans to replace nurses and other medical professionals with artificial intelligence systems that would provide more reliable and cost-effective patient care. The economic inefficiencies created by traditional nursing models are staggering, Daniel continued, while Amanda professionally monitored his vital signs and cardiac rhythms despite his ongoing harassment. These workers are expensive, unpredictable, and limited by cognitive capabilities that prevent them from processing complex medical data as efficiently as properly programmed AI systems. Amanda could hear Daniel's commentary, but chose to focus on providing excellent patient care, while documenting his behavior and attitudes for her research about wealthy patients' perceptions of nursing professionals and their understanding of healthcare delivery systems. Her clinical assessment revealed that Daniel's cardiac rhythms were normal, his blood pressure was within acceptable ranges, and his overall condition was stable, indicating that his hospitalization was indeed more about luxury accommodation than serious medical necessity. But Amanda's medical training also allowed her to recognize signs of stress, anxiety, and elevated cortisol levels that suggested Daniel's aggressive behavior toward healthcare workers might reflect underlying psychological issues related to control, authority, and fear of vulnerability that wealthy patients often experienced in medical settings. As Amanda completed her nursing assessment, Daniel's demands became more explicit and designed to force her into acknowledgement of his perceived intellectual and social superiority over healthcare workers who served wealthy patients in luxury medical facilities. "Nurse, I want you to explain to my business associates why it takes nursing school graduates so much longer to complete simple medical tasks compared to the automated systems we're developing," Daniel commanded, while positioning Amanda in front of his video conference cameras, where international investors could observe her response to his challenge. The demand was designed to force Amanda into a degrading educational performance, while demonstrating his authority over healthcare workers to business associates who were evaluating his leadership capabilities and vision for technology-driven transformation of traditional service industries. But Daniel's challenge had inadvertently created exactly the opportunity that Amanda needed to reveal his ignorance about her qualifications while exposing his arrogant assumptions about nursing education and medical expertise to his international business audience. "Mr. Crawford, I'd be happy to discuss the complexity of modern nursing practice," Amanda replied calmly, while her hidden recording devices captured Daniel's shocked expression as she began to demonstrate knowledge that contradicted his assumptions about her education and capabilities. Nursing practice today requires extensive understanding of pharmacology, pathophysiology, advanced assessment techniques, and critical thinking skills that enable nurses to identify life-threatening conditions and initiate appropriate interventions, Amanda continued, while Daniel's business associates listened with growing interest to her sophisticated medical knowledge. Her response demonstrated exactly the kind of intellectual capability and professional expertise that Daniel had claimed nursing professionals lacked, creating immediate tension as his investors recognized the contradiction between his assertions and Amanda's obvious competence. "For example," Amanda continued, "your current cardiac monitoring requires continuous assessment of rhythm abnormalities, medication interactions, and physiological responses that could indicate developing complications requiring immediate physician consultation or emergency intervention." The detailed medical explanation revealed Amanda's advanced knowledge of cardiology, pharmacology, and emergency medicine that exceeded the basic nursing competence that Daniel had assumed represented the limits of her education and professional capabilities. Daniel realized that Amanda's response was undermining his presentation to investors by demonstrating that his assumptions about healthcare worker capabilities were incorrect, potentially affecting their confidence in his ability to analyze complex systems and identify appropriate targets for artificial intelligence automation. "That's just memorized textbook information," Daniel interrupted, while attempting to regain control of the interaction. "Real intelligence involves innovative problem-solving and strategic thinking that goes beyond following predetermined protocols and procedures." But Amanda's medical education and research experience had prepared her for exactly this type of challenge, and her response would demonstrate intellectual capabilities that Daniel could not match despite his wealth and business success. "You're absolutely right about the importance of innovative problem-solving," Amanda agreed, while beginning to reveal her true qualifications. "That's why I've been conducting research about integrating advanced medical decision-making into nursing practice to improve patient outcomes during emergencies." The mention of research immediately caught the attention of Daniel's international investors, who recognized that Amanda's language and concepts suggested advanced education and intellectual capabilities that contradicted Daniel's characterization of nursing professionals as intellectually limited service workers. "My research focuses on developing protocols that allow nurses with physician-level training to provide advanced medical interventions during emergencies when immediate physician availability is limited by staffing constraints or geographic isolation," Amanda continued, while Daniel's business associates began to realize that their host had been systematically underestimating the healthcare professional who was providing his medical care. The revelation about physician-level training created immediate shock among the video conference participants, who understood that Daniel had been insulting and challenging someone whose qualifications potentially exceeded his own in medical knowledge and clinical expertise. "Wait, what exactly is your educational background?" asked Dr. Sarah Kim from the Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund, her voice carrying obvious surprise at the disconnect between Amanda's qualifications and Daniel's treatment of her as an intellectually inferior service worker. Amanda recognized that the moment had arrived to complete her revelation, while providing her research with comprehensive documentation of how wealthy patients responded when their assumptions about healthcare workers were proven completely incorrect. "I hold a medical degree from Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine with specialty training in emergency medicine, and I completed my residency at Massachusetts General Hospital," Amanda announced calmly, while Daniel's face turned pale as he realized the magnitude of his ignorance and public humiliation. "I'm currently working as a nurse while conducting research about patient care delivery and nursing education, specifically studying how wealthy patients interact with healthcare professionals and their assumptions about medical expertise," Amanda continued, while Daniel's international business associates processed the shocking revelation. The silence that followed Amanda's disclosure was deafening, as Daniel's investors realized that he had been publicly insulting and challenging a physician who possessed medical training from some of the most prestigious institutions in the United States, while demonstrating exactly the kind of arrogance and poor judgment that made him unsuitable for managing their investments. Additionally, Amanda continued while Daniel struggled to process the implications of his behavior, this entire interaction has been recorded for my research about toxic patient behavior and its impact on healthcare delivery, with particular focus on how wealth and perceived social status affect treatment of medical professionals. The revelation about recording created additional shock as Daniel understood that his arrogant behavior and insulting comments about healthcare workers had been preserved as evidence of his character and judgment that could destroy his business reputation and investor relationships. Within hours of Amanda's revelation, the recorded footage of Daniel Crawford's arrogant challenge to a Johns Hopkins-trained physician working as a nurse began spreading across social media platforms with unprecedented velocity as healthcare workers throughout the United States shared their outrage about his treatment of medical professionals and his ignorant assumptions about nursing education. The hashtag #RyanCrawfordExposed began trending nationally within 6 hours of the initial leak, as nurses, physicians, and healthcare administrators used Daniel's documented behavior to highlight broader issues about respect for medical professionals and the systematic undervaluation of nursing expertise in healthcare delivery systems. The high-definition hospital security recordings captured every detail of Daniel's escalating arrogance, from his initial dismissive comments about nursing competence to his explicit statements about replacing healthcare workers with artificial intelligence, his demand for degrading educational performance, and his shocked reaction when Amanda revealed her medical degree and research credentials. Technology industry media coverage focused immediately on the implications for Daniel's business reputation and investor confidence, as his documented behavior contradicted his public image as an innovative leader while demonstrating poor judgment and character flaws that created risks for business relationships and corporate partnerships. Tech mogul humiliated, after insulting Johns Hopkins MD working as nurse, became headline news across major media platforms, with the security footage providing undeniable evidence of Daniel's arrogance and his fundamental ignorance about the medical professionals who were providing his health care. The video evidence showed Daniel's systematic dismissal of nursing expertise, his attempts to use Amanda as an example of service industry incompetence for his business associates, his explicit plans to replace healthcare workers with artificial intelligence, and his complete shock when confronted with Amanda's actual qualifications and research credentials. Business media analysis highlighted the contradiction between Daniel's claims about analytical intelligence and his obvious failure to research or understand the qualifications of the medical professional providing his care, raising questions about his judgment and attention to detail that affected investor confidence in his leadership capabilities. The artificial intelligence industry immediately distanced itself from Daniel's commentary about replacing healthcare workers, with major technology companies issuing statements emphasizing their commitment to supporting medical professionals rather than eliminating healthcare employment through automation, without consideration for patient safety and care quality. Healthcare professional organizations used Daniel's case to advocate for greater recognition of nursing education and expertise, with the American Nurses Association issuing statements that highlighted the advanced training and clinical capabilities that modern nursing practice required. Daniel Crawford's behavior represents the systematic undervaluation and disrespect that nurses face from patients who don't understand the complexity and importance of nursing education, said American Nurses Association spokesperson Dr. Jennifer Martinez. His assumptions about nursing competence were not only wrong, but insulting to the hundreds of thousands of highly educated nurses who provide expert medical care. Medical education institutions, particularly Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine and Massachusetts General Hospital, issued statements supporting Amanda's research while condemning Daniel's treatment of a physician who had chosen to work as a nurse to advance medical knowledge and improve patient care delivery. Dr. Walsh's decision to work as a nurse while conducting important research about healthcare delivery represents exactly the kind of innovation and dedication that advances medical science, said Johns Hopkins spokesman Dr. Robert Chen. Mr. Crawford's treatment of her demonstrates ignorance about medical education and disrespect for healthcare professionals. The investor community responded swiftly to Daniel's documented behavior, with major venture capital firms and institutional investors withdrawing funding commitments worth billions of dollars due to concerns about his judgment, character, and ability to maintain professional relationships with stakeholders and business partners. The Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund, that had been participating in Daniel's video conference, announced the immediate withdrawal of their $8 billion investment commitment, explaining that his treatment of healthcare professionals contradicted their institutional values and created reputational risks for their investment portfolio. Mr. Crawford's behavior toward Dr. Walsh demonstrated poor judgment and character flaws that make him unsuitable for managing institutional assets, explained Fund Director Dr. Sarah Kim. His assumptions about medical professionals and his plans to eliminate healthcare employment through artificial intelligence raised serious concerns about his understanding of complex systems and stakeholder relationships. Other international investors followed suit, recognizing that Daniel's documented arrogance and public humiliation created reputational damage that could affect their own business relationships and institutional credibility with stakeholders who expected ethical leadership and professional conduct. Stock prices for Daniel's publicly traded companies collapsed by 48% in the first week following the viral footage, as investors and customers recognized that his behavior created enormous reputational risks that could affect business relationships, regulatory compliance, and competitive positioning in technology markets. Major corporate customers canceled contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars, citing concerns about associating their brands with Daniel's treatment of healthcare workers and his apparent disregard for professional expertise and human dignity that contradicted their own corporate values and social responsibility commitments. Healthcare systems throughout the United States announced policies prohibiting the purchase of technology products and services from Daniel's companies, recognizing that his documented disrespect for medical professionals made him unsuitable as a vendor for organizations dedicated to healthcare excellence and professional dignity. The medical technology implications were particularly damaging, as Daniel's companies had been developing artificial intelligence systems for healthcare applications, but his documented contempt for healthcare workers undermined confidence in his ability to create technology that would support rather than replace medical professionals. Daniel's personal wealth suffered devastating losses as his technology holdings became worthless, and his other investments faced scrutiny from partners and financial institutions that were concerned about association with his public behavior and reputational damage. His luxury real estate portfolio, art collections, and investment accounts faced potential liquidation as business relationships dissolved and legal challenges emerged from shareholders, employees, and business partners who claimed financial damages from his conduct and its impact on corporate performance. As media coverage of Daniel Crawford's humiliation intensified, public attention shifted to Amanda Walsh's groundbreaking research about healthcare delivery and the systematic ways that wealthy patients' assumptions affected their treatment of medical professionals, creating unprecedented awareness about nursing education and clinical expertise. Amanda's doctoral dissertation research, which had been the motivation for her decision to work as a nurse, despite her physician credentials, became the subject of academic conferences, healthcare policy discussions, and medical education reform initiatives that sought to address the professional respect and recognition gaps that her work had documented. The research methodology that Amanda had employed, working as a nurse while maintaining physician credentials to study patient-provider relationships, was recognized as innovative social science that provided unique insights into healthcare delivery systems and the impact of socioeconomic factors on medical interactions. Her findings about wealthy patients' assumptions regarding nursing competence, their expectations for service rather than medical care, and their systematic undervaluation of healthcare workers' education and expertise were published in prestigious medical journals and became required reading in nursing schools and medical education programs. The data that Amanda had collected during her 6 months at Manhattan Presbyterian Hospital revealed patterns of behavior among wealthy patients that contradicted their public statements about supporting healthcare workers while demonstrating systematic disrespect for medical professionals who didn't match their stereotypes about intelligence and education. Wealthy patients consistently underestimated nursing capabilities while overestimating their own medical knowledge, Amanda explained during television interviews about her research findings. They expected subservience rather than professional collaboration, and they often attempted to use healthcare workers as entertainment for business associates or demonstrations of their social superiority. Her research had documented hundreds of interactions between wealthy patients and healthcare workers, revealing systematic patterns of disrespect, inappropriate demands, and assumptions about intellectual capability that affected patient care quality while creating hostile working environments for medical professionals. The statistical analysis showed that wealthy patients were significantly more likely to challenge nursing assessments, demand inappropriate services, make discriminatory comments about healthcare workers' education and intelligence, and attempt to establish dominance relationships that interfered with proper medical care delivery. Amanda's work also revealed that healthcare institutions often enabled this behavior by prioritizing revenue from wealthy patients over staff protection and professional dignity, creating environments where medical professionals were expected to tolerate harassment and disrespect without recourse or institutional support. The hospital administration's response to her research had been mixed, with some administrators supporting her findings, while others were concerned about the implications for their relationships with wealthy patients who provided significant revenue for luxury medical services and philanthropic contributions. Dr. Patricia Chen, Manhattan Presbyterian's chief medical officer, became a strong advocate for Amanda's research and its implications for healthcare policy and institutional practices that affected medical professional satisfaction and patient care quality. Dr. Walsh's research provides crucial evidence about how socioeconomic factors affect healthcare delivery, Dr. Chen explained during medical conferences where Amanda presented her findings. Her work demonstrates that we need systematic changes in how healthcare institutions balance revenue considerations with professional dignity and staff protection. The research findings influenced policy discussions at the American Medical Association, American Nurses Association, and Joint Commission on Accreditation of Healthcare Organizations, leading to new standards for patient behavior expectations and staff protection policies. Healthcare institutions throughout the United States began implementing policies that addressed inappropriate patient behavior, established clear consequences for harassment or disrespect toward medical professionals, and created support systems for healthcare workers who experienced discrimination or abuse from wealthy patients. The broader implications of Amanda's research extended beyond healthcare to include discussions about service industry worker protection, professional respect across socioeconomic boundaries, and the responsibility of wealthy individuals to treat service providers with dignity, regardless of perceived social status differences. Business schools began incorporating Amanda's findings into curricula about leadership ethics and stakeholder relationships, using her documentation of wealthy patients' behavior as examples of how privilege and wealth could corrupt judgment and create toxic relationships with service providers and employees. The research also influenced technology development policies, particularly regarding artificial intelligence applications in healthcare, with Amanda's work providing evidence about the importance of maintaining human relationships and professional expertise in medical care delivery systems. The complete collapse of Daniel Crawford's business empire accelerated as additional evidence emerged about his treatment of employees, business partners, and service providers throughout his career, revealing systematic patterns of arrogance and disrespect that had been concealed by wealth and corporate power until his public humiliation exposed his true character. Federal investigators and congressional committees began examining Daniel's business practices and corporate culture, using Amanda's recorded evidence as a starting point for broader investigations into workplace harassment, discrimination, and hostile working environments throughout his technology companies and investment portfolios. The Department of Justice announced investigations into potential securities fraud related to Daniel's concealment of management problems and toxic corporate culture from investors who deserved accurate information about leadership risks and character issues when making investment decisions about his companies. Securities and Exchange Commission examinations expanded to include Daniel's public statements about artificial intelligence capabilities and healthcare applications, investigating whether his documented ignorance about medical professionals and healthcare delivery systems constituted fraudulent misrepresentation to investors and customers. Congressional hearings about technology industry accountability and artificial intelligence regulation used Daniel's case as evidence of the need for enhanced oversight of tech executives whose personal behavior and judgment problems could affect critical infrastructure and healthcare systems that served millions of Americans. Employment law investigations revealed systematic harassment and discrimination throughout Daniel's companies, with hundreds of employees coming forward to report similar treatment to what Amanda had documented, including inappropriate challenges to their competence, demands for degrading performance, and retaliation against workers who resisted or reported executive abuse. The civil litigation against Daniel personally and his corporate entities proceeded on multiple fronts, with employment attorneys representing not only current and former employees, but also business partners, customers, and investors who claimed financial damages from his conduct and its impact on corporate performance and business relationships. Class action lawsuits included claims for harassment, discrimination, intentional infliction of emotional distress, securities fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and violations of employment protection laws that provided comprehensive legal accountability for Daniel's systematic abuse of authority and his company's failure to protect stakeholders from his misconduct. The technology industry's response to Daniel's documented behavior was swift and comprehensive, with major companies, professional organizations, and industry groups distancing themselves from his approach to artificial intelligence development and his treatment of healthcare workers and employees. Technology conferences and professional organizations revoked Daniel's speaking invitations, awards, and membership privileges while implementing enhanced ethical standards and accountability measures for industry leaders whose behavior could affect public trust in technology development and artificial intelligence applications. The artificial intelligence research community used Daniel's case to advocate for enhanced ethical guidelines and oversight mechanisms that would ensure technology development served human welfare rather than replacing human professionals without consideration for social consequences and employment impacts. Healthcare technology development faced increased scrutiny as Amanda's research and Daniel's behavior highlighted the importance of maintaining collaboration between technology developers and medical professionals rather than replacing healthcare workers with automated systems developed by executives who lacked understanding of medical care complexity. The complete destruction of Daniel Crawford's public image and business empire forced him to confront fundamental questions about his character, values, and treatment of other people that he had been able to avoid throughout his privileged life through wealth insulation and corporate power that protected him from consequences for inappropriate behavior. The criminal prosecution for workplace harassment and securities fraud violations resulted in plea negotiations that included prison time, financial penalties, and mandatory counseling programs designed to address the arrogance and entitlement issues that had characterized his treatment of employees, healthcare workers, and business associates throughout his career. The federal court proceedings included comprehensive victim impact statements from Amanda and hundreds of other individuals who had experienced Daniel's harassment, discrimination, and abuse, creating a public record of systematic misconduct that demonstrated the scope of harm caused by his behavior and corporate culture. Daniel's sentencing included 18 months in federal prison, 5 years of probation with community service requirements, and mandatory participation in therapy programs that addressed narcissistic personality disorder, anger management, and empathy development that were designed to prevent future abuse and harassment. The community service requirements specifically included working with healthcare organizations, nursing education programs, and employee protection advocacy groups that would expose Daniel to the perspectives and experiences of the people he had systematically dismissed and mistreated throughout his business career. During his incarceration and subsequent community service, Daniel was forced to interact with healthcare workers, nurses, and medical professionals as equals rather than service providers, creating opportunities for him to understand the complexity, intelligence, and dedication required for medical care that he had never previously acknowledged or appreciated. The transformation process included working with nurses who had advanced degrees, physicians who had chosen nursing careers for personal fulfillment, and healthcare administrators who balanced clinical expertise with management responsibilities that were as complex as any business challenge Daniel had faced in technology development. His community service supervisor, Dr. Maria Rodriguez, was a nurse practitioner with doctoral preparation who had spent her career advancing nursing education and professional recognition while providing direct patient care that demonstrated the intellectual capabilities and clinical expertise that Daniel had dismissed as inadequate for complex problem-solving. Daniel's community service provides him with opportunities to understand that intelligence, education, and expertise exist in many forms, Dr. Rodriguez explained during progress evaluations. His previous assumptions about professional hierarchy and intellectual capability were based on ignorance rather than actual assessment of people's qualifications and contributions. The educational component of Daniel's rehabilitation included formal coursework about healthcare delivery systems, nursing education, and the research that supported evidence-based medical practice that required exactly the kind of analytical thinking and problem-solving capabilities he had claimed healthcare workers lacked. Amanda Walsh's research became required reading for Daniel's community service and therapy programs, forcing him to confront comprehensive evidence of his own behavior and its impact on healthcare workers, while learning about the actual complexity and importance of nursing practice in modern medical care delivery. Reading Dr. Walsh's research was devastating because it documented everything I had refused to acknowledge about my own arrogance and ignorance, Daniel reflected during court-mandated counseling sessions. I realized that my wealth and business success had insulated me from recognizing the intelligence and expertise of people I had systematically dismissed. 5 years after his public humiliation and the collapse of his technology empire, Daniel Crawford had undergone a genuine transformation that included comprehensive understanding of his previous misconduct and commitment to supporting healthcare workers, nursing education, and professional recognition programs that advanced the dignity and respect he had previously denied to medical professionals. The Daniel Crawford Healthcare Worker Protection Foundation was established with the majority of his remaining personal assets, providing funding for nursing education, research about patient-provider relationships, and advocacy programs that protected healthcare workers from harassment and discrimination by wealthy patients and corporate executives. His foundation's programs included scholarships for nursing students from diverse backgrounds, grants for research about healthcare delivery and professional recognition, legal support for healthcare workers who experienced harassment or discrimination, and training programs for healthcare institutions about managing difficult patients while protecting staff dignity. Amanda Walsh served as the Foundation's research director, using her position to expand the groundbreaking studies that had exposed Daniel's behavior while developing interventions and policies that improved healthcare working environments and professional recognition throughout the medical industry. The Foundation's impact extended beyond financial support to include advocacy for policy changes that strengthened employment protection for healthcare workers, enhanced professional recognition for nursing expertise, and created accountability mechanisms for wealthy patients whose behavior created hostile working environments in medical facilities. Daniel's personal advocacy work included speaking engagements at business conferences, medical education programs, and professional development seminars where he acknowledged his previous misconduct while supporting systematic changes that would prevent similar abuse and promote respectful relationships between patients and healthcare providers. My treatment of Dr. Walsh and other healthcare workers was inexcusable and reflected fundamental character flaws that my wealth and privilege had allowed me to ignore, Daniel frequently told audiences at healthcare conferences and business ethics programs. Her research not only exposed my behavior, but also provided crucial evidence about how wealth and arrogance can corrupt relationships with people who dedicate their lives to serving others. His speaking engagements focused on the importance of recognizing professional expertise regardless of job titles, understanding the complexity of modern healthcare delivery, and treating all service providers with dignity and respect that reflected their education, dedication, and contributions to community welfare. The business community's response to Daniel's transformation was mixed, with some executives appreciating his acknowledgement of misconduct, while others remained skeptical about the authenticity of his change and the possibility for genuine character development following such systematic abuse of authority and privilege. Amanda's continued research and advocacy work influenced healthcare policy at national and international levels, with her findings about patient behavior and healthcare worker protection informing legislation, regulatory standards, and institutional policies that strengthened professional dignity and respect throughout the medical industry. Her academic career flourished as she accepted positions at prestigious medical schools, where she developed curricula about patient-provider relationships, healthcare ethics, and the importance of professional respect that prepared future medical professionals for managing difficult interpersonal dynamics while maintaining care quality. The research methodologies that Amanda had pioneered, working within systems to document and analyze behavior patterns, became standard approaches for studying workplace dynamics, professional relationships, and the impact of socioeconomic factors on service delivery across multiple industries and institutional settings. 10 years after the viral exposure of Daniel Crawford's arrogant treatment of Amanda Walsh, their story continued to influence healthcare policy, business ethics education, and professional recognition standards throughout the United States and internationally, creating lasting protections for healthcare workers while establishing accountability mechanisms for wealthy patients and corporate executives. The Crawford-Walsh Healthcare Professional Recognition Act, enacted in multiple states, created legal frameworks that protected medical professionals from harassment and discrimination while establishing clear consequences for patients whose behavior violated professional dignity and created hostile working environments in healthcare facilities. Healthcare institutions throughout the country implemented comprehensive policies based on Amanda's research findings, including patient behavior standards, staff protection protocols, and training programs that educated wealthy patients about appropriate conduct and professional respect for medical providers. The technology industry adopted enhanced ethical guidelines for artificial intelligence development in healthcare, recognizing that replacing human professionals required comprehensive understanding of medical care complexity rather than simplistic assumptions about automation possibilities and cost reduction opportunities. Business schools and executive education programs incorporated Amanda's research and Daniel's case into mandatory curricula about leadership ethics, stakeholder relationships, and the importance of treating all employees and service providers with dignity, regardless of perceived social status or professional hierarchy. The nursing profession achieved enhanced recognition and professional respect, partly due to the publicity generated by Amanda's case, with increased funding for nursing education, research opportunities for nurse scientists, and public awareness about the advanced training and clinical expertise required for modern nursing practice. Amanda's memoir, Hidden in Plain Sight: How Research Exposed Healthcare Hierarchy, became required reading in medical and nursing schools, while inspiring healthcare workers to advocate for professional recognition and protection from patient abuse and institutional discrimination. The book's success led to international speaking opportunities, where Amanda shared insights about healthcare delivery, professional relationships, and research methodologies that could expose systematic problems while creating accountability for misconduct and discrimination in medical settings. Medical education programs adopted Amanda's dual physician-nurse model as an innovative approach to understanding healthcare delivery from multiple professional perspectives, with several institutions creating formal programs that allowed medical graduates to work in various healthcare roles while conducting research about care delivery systems. Daniel's continued foundation work and advocacy demonstrated the possibility for genuine transformation and positive contribution following accountability for harmful behavior, though his case remained a cautionary example about the dangers of wealth, insulation, and privilege that could corrupt character and judgment. The comprehensive documentation provided by modern security technology had made it impossible for Daniel to deny or minimize his abusive behavior, creating accountability that previous generations of healthcare workers had been unable to achieve when facing harassment from wealthy patients and powerful individuals. Most importantly, the story reinforced the fundamental truth that professional competence and human dignity existed independently of job titles, social status, or apparent position in workplace hierarchies, and that assumptions about intelligence and education based on superficial characteristics were often completely wrong and potentially harmful. Amanda Walsh had proven that individual courage and innovative research could challenge systematic discrimination while creating positive changes that protected countless healthcare workers from similar abuse and promoted professional recognition that reflected the true complexity and importance of medical care delivery. The lasting impact included not just legal protections and policy changes, but also cultural transformation that recognized the inherent dignity of all healthcare workers and the importance of maintaining respectful relationships between patients and providers, regardless of wealth, social status, or perceived hierarchy within medical institutions. Their story continued to inspire healthcare workers, researchers, and advocates who understood that protecting professional dignity required both individual courage and systematic change that addressed power imbalances while holding all individuals accountable for their treatment of the medical professionals whose expertise and dedication made excellent healthcare possible. The viral footage that captured Daniel Crawford's shocking encounter with Dr. Amanda Walsh became more than just a moment of individual accountability. It evolved into a catalyst for systematic change in healthcare professional recognition, patient behavior standards, and the protection of medical workers from harassment and discrimination by wealthy patients who had traditionally escaped consequences for inappropriate conduct. Amanda's groundbreaking research had exposed patterns of behavior that existed throughout the healthcare industry, where assumptions about nursing competence and professional hierarchy created environments that undervalued medical expertise while enabling abuse from patients who confused luxury accommodation with permission to mistreat healthcare providers. Daniel's transformation from arrogant tech mogul to healthcare worker advocate demonstrated that genuine character change was possible when individuals were forced to confront the consequences of their behavior and educated about the people they had dismissed or mistreated, based on superficial assumptions about intelligence and worth. The comprehensive legal, policy, and cultural changes that resulted from their encounter created lasting protections for healthcare workers while establishing clear expectations for patient behavior that prioritize professional respect and dignity over customer accommodation and revenue generation. Most significantly, their story reinforced the essential truth that expertise, dedication, and human worth existed in unexpected places, and that wealth or social status provided no reliable indication of character, intelligence, or the right to treat other people with disrespect or condescension. Amanda Walsh had demonstrated that one person's commitment to research and truth-telling could expose systematic problems while creating positive change that benefited entire communities of healthcare workers who faced similar challenges but lacked the protection or platform necessary to document and address workplace discrimination and harassment. The high-definition exposure of Daniel's behavior had proven that private misconduct by powerful individuals could no longer remain hidden, and that accountability was both possible and necessary for protecting vulnerable workers while maintaining professional standards that respected human dignity and expertise. Their legacy continued to inspire healthcare professionals, researchers, and advocates who recognized that protecting workplace dignity required vigilance, courage, and systematic commitment to treating all people with the respect and recognition they deserved as human beings and professional contributors to community welfare and health. If this story touched you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and tell us in the comments what part resonated most with you. Until next time.